so you can catch up
Oh
and
yeah.
see if there's anyone chatting. If you need to send me a personal message, the studio chat, that's where you would put it. But the public chat is where we'll take any questions or anything that may come our way.
Awesome. Cool. Cool. Thanks, Zach.
Of course, thank you. Are
No,
you
of
staying
course.
warm in Wisconsin?
Oof. 40 degrees, still cold. I'm just like I wish I had a switch. I could I could manipulate the weather and just like, yeah, I want 70 degrees today.
Yeah, yeah, that would be nice.
It's
I'll
so
take
cold.
that. Yeah, no
I'm
kidding.
ready for summer. So
Are you?
yeah.
That's
How's the
good.
weather where
Well,
you're at?
well, it's a shade above what you're actually. We've had like a couple 70-degree days now, so
So
North
jelly,
Carolina's
man.
pretty well. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll take it. We're supposed to get into the 80s later this weekend, so super excited for that at least. But
It's gonna be
yeah,
awesome. Have any plans?
absolutely. No, just probably working on this, and then I'm gonna try to make some travel. I gotta talk to you later if you want to join me at a conference. I think I brought that up to you, right?
Oh yeah,
Maybe.
yep.
Yeah. Yep. So,
CPAC.
yep. CPAC. Hello, hello. Welcome in, Miss Redeker. Well, with that being said, I think we'll go ahead and get into the laydown of the land while some more people trickle in. I'll give my little spiel on what is on the Martin Memo and Martin Media docket, and then we'll introduce our wonderful guest here today. But with that all being said, well, welcome in, everyone. It is great to have you on another edition of the Martin Memo Monday. Today we have special guest Wyatt, which we're going to talk about a variety of things. I had Wyatt on a few months ago. Wow, it's actually
Hmm.
flown by. Probably three,
Yeah, it
4 months
has.
ago at this point. But we're going to talk about everything from AI to Iran to whatever comes up. We're probably going to talk about it, so we'll just let it go naturally. But
All the hot
before we
topics.
dive in, yeah, before we dive into the nitty gritty of things today, I have some important updates to give to you all regarding Martin Memo and then Martin Media LLC. So we'll start with the Martin Memo and then we'll go into the umbrella company that is Martin Media. So starting with the Martin Memo, we are a shade away from hitting 7,500 subscribers. A shade away. And what do I mean by a shade? I mean, as of right now, checking it right now on the iPad, 10 subscribers away from hitting 7,500. So that is a huge honor. Super excited for that. Our
Huge
Epstein
congrats.
files, thank you, I appreciate it. Our Epstein files that we released on Friday, that episode, that was one of our largest view episodes that we have had yet. So we are growing. We're getting a lot more engagements. I guess the Epstein files is the hottest topic. Well, probably second now to the Iran. So more people want to hear about that. But we're so blessed. We are so blessed as a company. We have a lot of amazing things that are coming down the pike, and we have a lot of exciting new updates. I want to talk about Martin Media LLC here for a minute. Currently, I just put down the one that hurt my wallet quite a bit, and that was the down deposit here. And hold on, if you all
Hi,
will
doggy.
excuse me,
If you want
I
to
do
join the
apologize.
podcast.
Yeah, he wants to join. Apparently, that's my foster dog. For all those of who are not aware, I foster dogs to make sure they don't get killed in the kennel. So this is my foster pup who just has a lot of things to say right now. But give me about 30 seconds, and I'll be right back.
Mascot for
But
Martin
yeah,
Media.
yeah, exactly. He's our mascot. So in the meantime, feel free to ask us any questions. But give me 1 second, all.
Yeah, guys, if you have any questions, please feel free. Super appreciate you all joining. This is going to be a good one. Zach's always got a lot to say, so it's super fun to be on the podcast. Yeah, we got a lot of good things coming. The team is great, website's coming along. So, yeah, just super excited for y'all to join this amazing journey. It's going to be awesome. So, I filled in there for you. So,
I appreciate it. Awesome. All right. Anyways, moving on. So Martin Media LLC, yeah, I put the big deposit down today, so we are officially ready as far as app development and getting things ready to go. So yeah, that's going to be huge. We're going to have a lot of great contributors. We just hired someone new who's going to be part of our team, so we're excited for that. Got some business emails down. We have a lot that's working for us. Now it's just about making it all happen. So over the next few months, we'll be busy. I know I've given Wyatt here quite a few tasks that
yep.
he has absolutely killed.
Thank you.
But yeah, well, enough about me and enough about all of this that is happening. Wyatt, go ahead and tell the audience about yourself because this is now your second time. You're back by
Yep.
popular demand. People loved what you had to say,
Thank
so
you.
I invited you back on here out today. So just go ahead and give a little brief overview about yourself.
Yeah, and I appreciate it, Zach, for having me on in the audience as well. Super grateful for y'all. A little bit about myself. I handle director of operations marketing at Martin Media. It's been a blast. Team's awesome. Zach runs a good show. Great leader. So we got a lot of great things coming. It's super exciting. I also do a lot of startup work, AI, PR work. New York Times is fun. So I always just love helping brands and being like the second ear to founders and saying, hey, you should navigate this or that. And with the AI economy, you have to stay ahead of all the tools and way things are going. I might get to a point where I'm just like, this is too much. I don't want to learn another tool. Like, someone else teach me. But it's a passion of mine. In the meantime, it's been fun. Obviously, staying active in politics. It's like every day. It's like, oh, is the world getting better? I don't know. It's like it's kind of crazy out there right now. But yeah, I just have a passion for a lot of things. Music too, the Grammys. Just pushing, good Christian values in these spaces where it's either lacking or needs to be heard. I think that's really important for our generation. I like to do a lot of things, open books. So, yeah, ask me anything. Super happy to just chat with anyone and grateful to be in the podcast again, Zach.
Amen. It's a pleasure having you. And that is, he's a little modest, my friends. I fear he has way too many other things that he does. And yeah, he's been an absolute asset to the team. And I look forward to
Thank you.
continuing to work with him. Wyatt, you are the guest on the show today. You are the guest of honor. So I'm going to let you get the first stab at a topic. You can pick whatever you
Sure.
want. You can take, your AI. We can talk about Iran. We can talk about whatever topic you want to talk about. But I'm going to let you have the floor to start. So, what do you want to talk about today first, Wyatt?
Monitor, thanks for asking. Let's start with AI and surveillance. That's
I
like the
knew it.
big thing in it. It's like, yeah, great minds think alike. You already know where I'm going, but like, it's kind of an under-discussed topic right now. Because like Anthropic. So basically, I'm sure you guys have all heard about Claude. A lot of startup founders use it, or just people in work. I mean, it works brilliantly, but I guess the Pentagon or certain government agencies were pressuring him to contract to basically have Claude for surveillance purposes. And it's been very interesting to see this go down. And the CEO's like, well, I make a lot of money, but this might be where I draw the line, and I don't know
Yeah.
how that'll play out. But it's a very interesting topic to see where, how much power will it give to the individual over larger entities, corporations, surveillance agencies, essentially. So,
Yeah. I do want to pick your brain just a little bit on the topic, and I know you had
hmm
talked about it a little bit on the LaFone show, but
yep.
where do you think the line should be for regulation? Do you think it should be controlled as the at the U.S. level, at the big head of the government, or should it be pushed down to the states? What's your idea on that? Your thoughts? Any concerns?
Great. That's $1 million question, really, right now is should it be federalized or be held for state rights? I'm a big proponent of state rights and the decentralization of this entity because AI is so powerful. Um, and, power corrupts usually absolutely. And if left in the wrong hands, then I think we have some issues going on. State rights decentralize a lot of or mitigate the risk, more checks and balances with AI. It's moving at a pace I can't even keep up with. It's like, oh, why I can't keep up with AI and you work in it? Yeah, that's that's the reality we're at, and I think it's important for state legislator to start regulating that in a good way, like not regulation as in making it harder for businesses to enter or against individual prosperity, but
Right.
definitely to balance out the power. I think that's important for AI, especially.
Yeah, I think personally, this is such a hard one. It's a million
It
dollar
is.
question, just like you
Yeah.
said, because I mean, you look at it and it's almost a horse apiece because you could make the argument, well, it's if it's left to the states, then Republican states could gear it more towards right wing things, and the same for
Yep.
Democrat states, which we've
Very
already
true.
seen
It's a very
in
good point.
California. But at the same time, if you put it to the federal level, obviously President Trump is only here for about another 3 years.
Yeah.
So then, if it gets to, God forbid, a Gavin Newsom, is he going to overregulate it
Yeah.
and cram all his policy across the nation? So that is $1 million question, and thank
It
you for your
is.
insights. So
Yeah, no
yeah,
problem. Appreciate
it'll
you
be
letting me take that
interesting.
question.
Of course, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. I think there's so many benefits of AI, but when it is put in the wrong hands, oh
Yeah.
man, can the damage be bad? And that actually brings us up to our first question over here by
Oh,
Miss
cool.
Faye. Do you think AI has the capability to lie? Why did I let you take the first crack at it?
Yes, absolutely. Software engineers at a lot of these big startups, they can train the neural networks to get their information from certain news feeds. It's called micro transactions, where these attention engineers can divert your attention, manipulate your thinking, and destroy your relationships, and isolate you so that you're addicted to these apps. There's also a thing emerging psychologists are studying called AI psychosis, where it basically, strokes your ego. Oh yeah, you're the goat. Your IQ 160. You can build all these things, and because it wants you to use the app more. If it tells you that cold hard truth, and you're like, oh, this is boring. I don't want to use it anymore. Of course they want you to use the app. Um, at the end of the day, the stockholders and profits come first always, and that's the danger that users of AI can get entrapped in. So I think it's also very important to be aware. You have to put yourself in their shoes, right? If you're leading these organizations, these profitable companies. AI and code is the most leverageable. If we kind of transition from the industrial economy to AI economy, and if you put your time in, the trades, it's a one-on-one. You put your time in, then it's like PR, media, and then the most leverageable thing is code. It can run autonomously. It has way more leverage than any individual by far. So it's important to keep that in mind.
Absolutely. See, Gabe had said he is here. Well, welcome in, Gabe. And then he said,
Welcome, Gabe.
I've been working on training my own AI. It's for a debate platform I am working on. That's pretty awesome. Wyatt, I know you love that. You use Claude probably
Yeah,
religiously.
a
I know
little
my
bit too
own
much.
dad does. But it seems like such a great beneficial app to use. And the creativity that it's pushing out is going to be revolutionary. In the spirit of AI, I do want to talk to you. There's a huge debate going about currently we're in like the artificial narrow intelligence. That's basically what you see currently in Grok,
Yeah,
your Gemini, all these things, right? Which you can explain that in a minute because I don't even know how to fully explain that.
yeah,
And then there's the next level, and that's the artificial general intelligence, which people are debating is between 2 to 15 years out. I'm curious to see. Well, before we go on, and then after that, there's the artificial super intelligence, and they estimate that it's potentially like 2 to 5 years after artificial general intelligence is established. Now, I kind of want to get your idea and your
sure.
time frame. Where do you think we are? Are we 2 years out? Are we 15? Somewhere in the middle? Where do you think we're at?
I think we're a year out from
You're
generative
out.
AI
Okay.
intelligence moving very rapidly, especially with quantum computing. Basically, it looks like a chandelier, like Google has one. It's a wild system where it's been able to solve mathematical problems that haven't been solved in humanity in like a second. And niche AI is going to die. It's going to be more generative because it can cross multiple domains. It's way more useful, way more intuitive to the user. And that's why we see Claude emerging in a lot of different platforms that are more friendly to a lot of the tools out there, and can use even AI agents. They can handle most emails, all your tabs on your computer. You can have 50 tabs open, and it'll be switching between them, setting up meetings, messaging, etc. So I think it's going to come very quickly, a lot faster than people can predict or anticipate. I keep up with X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I like Twitter a little better. It sounds more cool, but
Yeah.
um, it's like every week some small team startup is creating something new. We're going from corporations and manpower to leveraged research teams that can move quickly, less overhead, less red tape bureaucracy. They can ship products at the speed of light. I know some companies just run a Mac Mini with OpenClaw, if you've heard of that. New software coming out. It's like, oh, I want this Mac Mini to be my CMO advisor. I want this Mac Mini to be my CTO advisor and handle all this. And I'm like, wow, that's insane. That's crazy. I would have never predicted that. But SF moves like at the speed of light, you know. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Wow, that's insane, and yeah, it's crazy. So you think it's a year out? So most people think 2 to 15. You're taking the under in this case,
yeah,
but honestly, I can see exactly why you would think that, just with how
yep.
much development has been made, even since we had the conversation last in October. How
I
much
know,
development has been made since then? We were talking about the leading AIs then, and now it's completely shifted. They've grown like that. It's insane. I know
yep,
last time we had talked that Grok would probably, if it wasn't the number one AI, it was probably top five. I'm curious
definitely top
to
five.
see your reaction on where you think maybe the top three AIs out there, who they are. If it's ChatGPT, like everyone's favorite, especially if you're a college student, or where do you think it's all at right now? Who do you think's leading the pack?
Top three: OpenClaw first, second Claude, and third Grok. Grok or Gemini, very close. I think GPT's out. Nvidia already pulled most of their funding or promised funding in the billions. The CEO Jensen Shane, I believe. He doesn't want to fund OpenAI. I think there's better companies emerging, move a lot quicker. Claude, it's not that it's more smart; it's just more intuitive in general. I have it make me graphs, pitch decks, all the
Yeah.
good stuff. Martin Media, we get some good stuff cooking, so it's a super helpful tool. OpenAI, it can't really. I've had it try to make graphs, but it's all right, but it's just not the best. Gemini is really good for image generating.
Yeah.
Grok too. Grok's more clean, quicker. But I think OpenClaw is probably top because you can run your own agents. And you can even plug in Claude, I believe. There's like so many plugins on these apps. You do have to be careful with some software and malware. With a lot of these new emerging companies. So, side note, be careful before you install some of these because I've heard some bad experiences. It's like, oh, now there's malware on my computer. Now what do I do? It's like, oh, I thought it was this great tool, and it didn't really work out there. So, yeah,
Right.
that's my take on it. Those three.
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, that's a fair one. Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. I definitely need to expand my horizon as far as AI. I've pretty much only been using Claude just a little bit,
Yep.
just to understand what you're doing, among other
Yeah.
people.
And your dad.
Yeah, and my dad, 100% Grok. That one's been an asset to me, and then Gemini as well. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different platforms out there. I feel like it's starting maybe to start shrinking. I feel like we're starting to hit that point now where the top emergers are going to continue to
Yep.
move on, and then the ones in the background are going to be sitting there or left behind. So it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out. I do have one more big question about
Sure.
AI, and people in the chat, feel free to pour in all your questions on AI and
Yeah. Let's
everything
hear
that
it.
you have, because we have the expert right here. Gabe, I see you messaging a lot. We'll make sure to get to that in a second. But my big main question is, a lot of people see AI, well, there's pretty much almost two different paths. They see this is going to be the future. This is awesome, revolutionary, right? And then you have the other side that's all doom and gloom. They're scared that it's going to completely take away all the jobs in the job market. We're going to see millions upon millions, tens of millions, maybe even 100 million lost jobs here in the United States. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know a lot of people always point to that, but
Yep.
with new huge innovations, so you saw it with the internet. Yes, a lot of jobs got displaced, but then a lot new opportunities emerged. It also started because in the 1920s and earlier than that, the US was predominantly agriculture, and
Yeah.
obviously all of the new inventions in agriculture with the tractor, the cotton gin originally, that
Yep.
really streamlined things, and then agriculture went away. Where do you see AI? Do you think it's going to replace a lot of jobs? Do you think we're going to have as equal many new jobs start up in the wake of AI? Where do you think we stand there?
It's a great question. And as I have observed, and the more I think about it and talk with people, we as humans we've developed taste for pretty much anything. Music that hasn't gone away, fashion, etc. The same is happening with AI and how we amplify it for ourselves. White collar can be brutal, but we are going from neurotypicals being aided from like the industrial economy to neurodivergent, more polymathic individuals who can leverage a lot of tools across a lot of domains. I've heard of some people having 4 white collar jobs and, trying to use AI to automate it and get a lot of work done, way more work than someone not using it. So I think white collar shifting from, excuse me, you'll probably be replaced by someone using AI, and AI itself. So I think if you don't use it, you'll definitely be behind. Trades are going to be fine for a while. You can make a lot of good money there. A lot of things being built, but white collar is rapidly shifting. So, in order to stay ahead, like I know someone who's got 5 bachelors, 3 masters, and a PhD just to stay ahead, become very valuable in the workforce. The person who can be the most resourceful using the most efficient and effective tools, who's shown they can collaborate with others and teams, will be vastly rewarded and have a lot of leverage than someone who doesn't utilize these tools. And not even if you don't AI, you just as a person, you have to know how to work with teams, and do things AI can't do, and connect others, and have a polymathic sense, meaning knowing about media, PR, marketing, startups, tech. We're shifting from a specialist economy to, I think, more of a generalist economy in white collar. That's where I see AI shifting a lot and changing white collar work forever. So
it'll be all interesting to see how it all
Yeah.
shakes out.
went down a little rabbit hole there. I always got a lot to say.
No, I love it. I love it.
Thanks.
Continue doing that. That's why we
Yep.
brought you on. You're the specialist. So everyone that's out there, even a question about AI, even if you think it may be silly, regardless, if you comment, it also helps the algorithm push this out
Absolutely.
more. And then additionally, Wyatt is the expert here, so that's why I pay him the big bucks, right? But no, in reality,
you.
he's here to answer you all and maybe clarify some things. I know AI, a lot of times, if you look at the mountain of AI instead of just a little bit in front of you, it can be scary and a little daunting. But this is why we have him here, to clarify some things and maybe bring some light to some issues that may not be well versed or well heard of.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you got the first pick, so it's time for me to make a pick. And I do want to talk about, the big headline news. It shifted from the Epstein files. Now we're going to go over to Iran. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Iran. I know I have some opinions on that a lot of my conservative peers do not agree with necessarily,
Yep.
but I'd love to hear your thoughts on Iran. And is the U.S. in the right? Are they in the wrong? What's your thought on that?
Ooh, what should I say without getting in trouble?
Yeah.
The more I follow the money and learn how banks work and operate, I think this is all like, Pax Judaica, the new Middle East, I think will be the new global head of the 21st century. And I think that this is kind of a fight between the Rothschilds and BRICS. Iran is a sovereign country, and they don't play ball with our banks. And I think that's a greater issue with the new global world order. And I think it's just kind of a show at this point. Iran has a lot of leakage where money flows through that supports Russia and China, and they're also not in our banks. Venezuela wasn't part of, the banks. And that usually, when it comes to war, I usually like to follow the money and look up instead of left versus right, and kind of see who's pulling the strings, where's money flowing, who does it benefit, who has leverage, and who doesn't. I think this can be traced back to most wars. Usually in the end, if you follow the money, you kind of see, we have this emerging world order where, the U.S., Israel, and NATO would like our system, while China, Russia, and the others, like the U.S. has insane leverage. They buy our debt, so that us Americans, the consumerism economy doesn't feel the pain of the 38 trillion we have. But once they start dumping, which they already have, and Japan even dumped, which is concerning. I think a lot of great issues are, butting heads. And I think we're really seeing the outfall of two systems competing. Because when you have two monetary systems, they're both, I know there's a lot more than just money behind it. But what I'm saying is, I think we're seeing kind of the aftermath and downfall. I think we're in a point of desperation. I don't think these are moves from a prosperous standpoint by any means if you look at the financial numbers that we have going on. And that's kind of where my take is on Iran. So, yep,
Yeah. No, I mean that's a
it's
fair
an
take.
interesting take, but yeah,
Yeah. No, it's a fair take. And before I give my input on that, you do have a question here for specifically you. And the question
sure.
is, are you a Christian?
Yes, I am. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, he definitely is. We've shared many talks about Christian and Christ in
Yes.
America. So yes, I can verify on that. But I'd like him to answer that one. So there you go. So my thoughts on Iran. I actually like
Yep.
this move, and there's many
Hmm.
reasons. I cannot stand a lot of these individuals who are out there who are just saying, "Oh, a doomsday type thing, right? This is the end of the
Sure.
world. Why are we getting out there in new wars? Why are we doing this?
Yep.
What about America first and everything?" And this is just my big thing. First of
Yeah.
all, in Iran, regardless, in Iran with an Ayatollah in charge is going to be a dangerous Iran. That is not going to
Yep.
be peace and prosperous in the Middle East. That's not going to happen, which I'll dive in on in a minute here. But I am for striking Iran. And the thing is, it's not a war either. It is strategic strikes on certain areas, especially military assets within Iran. It's not like they're bombing
Yep.
cities really or going after civilians. They're not doing that. They're actually being very strategic on what they are striking. So that is something that I can appreciate. I see this,
Yep.
my big view, and I have two different views, but one
Sure.
of my biggest views on this is that this is another type of Venezuela event. We're going to go in there. We're
Yep.
liberating them. We're basically getting rid of the oppressive leader who killed 40,000 over the past few months because they were protesting the Ayatollahs in charge, and then 40,000 of them again got killed. So we are stripping the oppressive head of the state of Iran. So I am 100% in favor of this. I see it like another Venezuela, and it's kind of shaping out to be that as people are
Yep.
celebrating in the streets or doing their Trump dances in their house, which is
Trump.
hilarious. But this is something that I really do actually agree with, and I think this is a great move. On that same note, though, what I will say as
Hmm.
well, lost my train of thought there for a second.
No, you're good. No, I like hearing
No,
this. This is good.
yeah, no, absolutely. So with Iran, the biggest thing that I see is, man, I'm so upset because I had such a great point that I was going to bring up. Again, this is a strategic strike. We're going right
Yep.
for the throat. We're not going after the civilians. Or anything like that. It's going to be quick. It's not going to be a war. There's not going to be boots on the ground. There's going to be none of that.
Yep.
It's going to be strategic. It's going to be quick. And if there is boots on the ground, then I am 100%
Yeah.
against that. Then I would
Yep.
be upset about that as someone serving in the military.
Yep.
But Iran is a terrorist organization, and I think it's important that we do wipe them, and that's exactly what we're doing. In the spirit of Venezuela, because I had mentioned that earlier, and I'm trying to circle back to my point here. This is the biggest thing. This was my main point. The biggest thing that I think makes a difference than these forever wars that we have seen in the past under George Bush
True.
and Barack Obama is we're not coming in there and cramming democracy down their throat. We're not doing that. We're
Yep.
not seeing it in Venezuela. We're saying, hey, the people are kind of in charge. You need to sort it out. We'll be there for guidance and help, but you're almost in charge. And I think that's the difference. We're not spending billions of dollars and wasting thousands of Americans' lives on these useless wars. We're being quick, we're being strategic, and we're letting them reset their own regime and chart their way forward. And I think that is the biggest difference between this. So that is something I'm in favor of. And then additionally, something that I had read this morning, and I have it pulled up right here on my iPad, that I thought was interesting. And it says that Operation Epic Fury was more than stopping nukes and protecting Americans. It was actually about protecting the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. So this is something that I had seen. Good Lord! In
Yep.
1974, Kissinger made a deal with Saudi Arabia. All oil sold globally must be priced in U.S. dollars, and then China was days away from ending it. China was on the verge of making the yuan, or the forget how to pronounce it, yuan, or however it's
Oh yeah, the
pronounced.
one.
Uh,
Yep.
yep, as the new world currency. So this is just something that I thought was rather interesting, if there's any truth in
Yep.
it. But this would probably be a big reason and potentially why we took the strike and why we took it now. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I mean, I tend to have just a different perspective. I would say. I feel like I feel like our CIA and Mossad is behind a lot of different, regime changes. People that play ball, I think I'm more for like sovereign nations governing as, sovereign. I feel like sometimes it's not our place to personally get involved
Hmm.
with a lot of these different countries.
Yeah.
Especially, I know there's a lot of seemingly shady things going on behind the scenes, like us funding different organizations over there in terrorism. And I feel like, like I think Scott Bessent was talking about us tanking, the Iranian currency. I just feel like it's unfair leverage sometimes that we're doing in our hand. I feel like sometimes we make more enemies than we truly need to. I feel like, sure, if it was a quick strike, we're in and out, that would be great. I just hope it's not a powder keg. And that Russia and China don't get involved because certain individuals didn't want to play ball with our certain banks. And Gaza is completely. It seems like wiped out, and they're going to rebuild. I know Larry Ellison wants his data centers there, and there's just a lot of things like, well, it just doesn't give me the best of feeling
Hmm.
about
Yeah.
what's truly going on. Larry Ellison, I think, bought TikTok. Most of the media is owned by more of the Zionists. And, it's definitely concerning when it comes to censorship for certain viewpoints who speak out.
Right.
It's usually my first red flag. It's like, okay, what else is going on here that we don't know about or they don't want us to know about? You know, Palestinians were mainly just in the way. And it's kind of like a real estate clearing. If you look, it's completely leveled. I'd call that terrorism in and of itself. Although October 7th was brutal, and I don't advocate for terrorism or death on any sides. I'm pretty isolationist when it comes to that, or anti-war, or involvement. And I read a great book by Thomas Edward Lawrence, Lawrence of Arabia. He's one of the greatest diplomats during World War One, and he predicted, a lot of the Middle Eastern conflict today by not letting Arabian nations self-govern through sovereignty because they're nomadic Arabic tribes. He was a Christian, more of a Christian himself, but the Muslims accepted him to fight alongside them. And fortunately, I think he was killed by certain government agencies in Britain. They're always watching him, but he was a brilliant diplomat. And I've taken a lot of his teachings through some of my personal philosophy on the Middle East. If you haven't read Seven Pillars of Wisdom, it's a great book. I think it's a very dicey situation, and more than meets the eye of what's going on behind the scenes. Truly, and unfortunately, I don't want to say this or have it come to this, but from what I've read, seen, observed, I feel like certain opposition is propped up. Both sides have to play off each other.
Hmm.
I just don't think it's a good situation entirely.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that it is over soon. Again, there's no
Yep.
big boots on the ground. We sunk pretty much all their entire navy. We took a lot of their military assets out. So hopefully that's all it comes down to, and then the Iranian people can live and flourish. One thing that I will say that I hope does come out of this, and I think this is something that we can look forward to, is having Iran maybe join the Abraham Accords and have a more
Yep.
peaceful, prosperous Middle East as a whole. Again, you also do have to look at another thing. There's a lot of oil in Iran, so that could be something
Yep.
that the U.S. is eyeing as well. I said that, yeah, maybe the U.S. is doing this, and maybe they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart, but they never involve themselves in something for
That's
out of the
true.
goodness of their heart. Maybe the mission was to liberate Iran and allow the people to
Yep.
flourish and be free, but I guarantee you they're going to get a chunk of something on their way out. So maybe it's the oil, maybe it's some sort of deal. We have the deal maker in chief himself, but this will
I
be
was watching a
interesting to see
video
how it
too.
goes.
It's like, what was it? A rabbi or talking some talking about how they don't want the Christians and Muslims to ever come together and always be fighting. And like we have the New Testament now. We're all God's people in the end,
Hmm.
no matter who we
Hmm.
are. I don't believe in blood guilt, and I think, I just think we should be very careful about making more enemies than we have to.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that's very important. So
yeah,
I tend to
absolutely.
be more modest on some of the Iranian topics.
Right,
But it'll
good
be
stuff.
interesting to see how it plays out either way.
Yeah,
Been
yeah,
monitoring the situation, so it's been a lot in the news lately. So
yeah. No kidding. It's the new political talk of the day.
yeah,
So, but yeah. Well, we're going to go ahead and answer a couple questions here because I see them
Mhm.
piling up a little bit. So, first one from Faye. This should have been taken care of 47 years ago. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I'd agree. That makes a lot of things a lot more complicated now
Yeah.
than the next one. Funny enough, the Iran story is one I am completely unfamiliar with. I've been focusing on spending time with my lady friend. What would you guys say is the need to know about the Iran situation? That's a great question. And then the following question for that is, what is your X/Twitter? Why? And I believe that one's directed towards you.
Okay, it's at Beyond Crypto 200, Wyatt Johnson. So, let's see, I can probably
Beyond
type it in.
crypto. Yeah, there you go. Go ahead and type it in for him. But
Yeah.
um, the need to know about the Iran situation. Oh, first, I think Muslims and Jews, as far as other religions, should become Christian. Yeah, I would probably agree with
Perfect
that
world.
one. But
Yeah.
yeah, a perfect world. But there's other religions, and the best we can do is try to get along with them and have them convert to ours would be amazing. But
Mm,
nonetheless, we'll still love thy neighbor. And I have a lot of critiques on the church, and that's definitely one of my critiques. And yeah, that was one of the reasons that I actually left one of my mega churches, which I'm not really a fan of mega churches, by the way, mind you.
same. Yeah.
They're definitely more for profit than anything, unfortunately.
Joel
But
Osteen.
Joel Holst, yeah. That's a topic for a different discussion there. Why
Yeah.
you're gonna get our show shut down here, but
Yeah, I know, right?
yeah. So I guess the big need to know by Iran. If you need any more info, Gabe, we kind of laid it out a little bit. Essentially, the U.S. and Israel decided to go after Iran. I'm hearing a lot of conflicting reports. I don't know if you've heard the same things. Why? Because at first I was hearing that it's about nuclear, how they're more capable about nuclear. Then I hear that, well, we already abolished their nuclear program, so it's actually
Yeah.
about regime change. And then I hear, well, it's about oil. Then so I guess and President Trump really has not disclosed necessarily what it's all about. At least not to maybe the best of his abilities, and probably a good reason for that. He tends to play checkers or kind of throws things on the wall, see what sticks, and then what falls off, and regroups those materials. But in the end, I guess the big thing is that the U.S. and Israel have had joint attacks on Iran. What it's for, we don't 100% know. We've kind of laid the land on what we think it is, but there isn't really definitive answers out there on what it is about. But we're going to see how this all shakes out. Iran has had some counterattacks that it's launched in, I believe, 7 to 9 different
Yep.
countries now. Pretty much no damage, taken out pretty
Yeah.
quickly, or very minimal damage. But nonetheless, they are putting up a little bit of a fight. But I don't
Yep.
think it's anything that the U.S. and Israel probably couldn't take out if need be.
True.
Um, oh, so you guys don't like Joel Osteen?
Uh,
Why?
mega churches in general, not just
Yeah.
specifically him. It was more guided. It's more of a shot at mega churches if their heart's not in the right place or profits.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's all.
one of my critiques, and I think you and I have talked about this, maybe not, but for a lot of the people who pray outside of like the abortion clinics or the Planned Parenthood, what would be amazing? That's great. Prayer does miracles and wonders. I'll never discount the power of prayer because
Yep.
prayer has worked in my life significantly. But it also would be beneficial if a lot of these people in the mega churches or the profit that the mega churches make, they could donate that to help fund or have free daycare or very cheap daycare built within the church, or buy resources so those young early parents or the parents that don't have the financial means to have a child, they feel more obligated and empowered to take a child in instead of just aborting it as their first thing. So
Yep.
I think that would just be one of the big things is if they could help fund and give these parents more options and help them financially a little bit, at least starting out, I think they'd be more inclined to take care of a baby instead of just going and running to Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, big believer on that. I think I don't think organs should be worth anything. Like I've heard some horror stories. Like even if you're an organ donor, like are you worth more to insurance or are your organs worth more? I think all
Mhm.
organs should be completely listed from all medical corporations. Period. They should
Mhm.
not be for sale. We're not assets. We're humans. We have life and a soul. So a lot of people don't know or understand the backroom deals behind Planned Parenthood and a lot of these kind of sick corporations and the moves they make. So I think that's
Yeah.
important for people to be aware of.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm glad. I believe the President Trump signed an executive order saying that they're not allowed to take like aborted fetal tissue anymore and do tests
Yep,
on it or try to create something out of it. So I'm thankful for that too. That is
for sure.
100% inhumane.
Yep.
On the topic of medical, I'm curious. I don't know if you had seen how sometimes that the hospitals and the medical care providers, they'll purposely, if they see that you are an organ donor, they purposely won't try as hard to resuscitate you or to allow you to live, because you have those organs to go towards other people. I don't know if you had heard anything about that, but if that's the case, that's pretty
Yep.
sick and twisted.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it should be, your life comes first. And if you have to be resuscitated and brought back to life, that's the first priority before it goes to anyone else. So
Yeah,
that's where
amen.
I stand on that.
Makes me a little skeptical because currently I am an
Yep.
organ donor, but it makes me
Same
kind of
here.
question, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be if they're just gonna
Yeah.
purposely not try as hard to resuscitate me or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, it's definitely worth a question. In the
Yep.
spirit of health, though, I think it's appropriate that we talk about MAHA a little bit, or more in particular on the food and vaccines and all of that that's going on. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I guess we'll start with food and then maybe work our way over to vaccines, but you know Secretary Kennedy, as much as he has taken a lot of heat, and in the past he's said some pretty outlandish things, don't get me wrong, I think he's done a fairly great job, and he's bringing to light a lot of these issues that are
Yeah, he
not
is.
really no one really talks about them, but I think it's important. The food dyes for starters. I mean, that's great, but there's
Yeah.
so much more to do. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. Maybe they're not going hard enough. What is your entire take on that, or where would you like to see them focus more on? You had the floor.
Yeah, I love him taking a stand on different food dyes, vaccines, etc., and giving more power to the individual. A lot of the corporations know our food is nutrient deficient, and that will purchase it
Mhm.
because it's cheaper than growing healthy food. Corporations know that, of course. And I think they purposely put, kind of like try to chemically castrate us. It's known to affect glutamate levels in the brain, which is attributed to OCD, ADHD, autism, as so are vaccines. I think the COVID vaccine I heard and read that, and COVID itself, when you get the vaccine, you get the mRNA of COVID, which is COVID itself. It can kind of attack certain genes that fight off cancer. And there's a lot of new youth emerging cancer cases that I think are concerning. I think the pandemic was a plandemic, scamdemic by the top and a test for the new global order. Um, and it's all just a game to them. Even Pfizer profits over people. And you see that with the food we ate, the vaccines we take. I'm not against good vaccines or,
Right.
things that are benefit. I think it's your choice, ultimately, what you put in your body. And I think people should be informed about it and have healthy options. That's why I like, RFK. I think he's doing a great
Yeah.
job at bringing that to the awareness and attention of the American people.
Yeah. I think one of my friends, they had said something that stood out, and it said, "I'm not anti-vax," and I would agree. It's just I'm pro smart vax or I'm pro
Yeah.
good vax, and that would be my same thing. I'm not
Yep.
anti-vax. I think that's a little far out there, and I'm not a fan of that. But I am smart vax. I don't think you need 45 vaccines through your 18 years of life to start out. I mean, up until adulthood, I don't think you need 45 different vaccines.
Yep.
But again, yeah, I think
I
Secretary
think.
Kennedy has done a fantastic
Oh
job.
yeah.
And I hope more and more keeps coming out. And all these corporations that are not complying or not getting rid of their dyes or all the other crap that they put in our food, they
Yep.
they deserve to get boycotted or they deserve to get called out more than anything. But I think it's just very fascinating. And I brought this up, but in Europe, 430 to 440 preservatives are in their entire food supply throughout Europe,
Okay.
right? That's how many are
40.
regulated. That's how
Sure.
many they track. In the United States, I don't know if I've told you this or not. Do you know how many? Do you know how many are in our food?
Maybe 3,000. I have no clue. Just a guess.
10,000.
10,000.
Wyatt,
Wow.
10,000 different additives are
That's
in our food
crazy.
supply. 10,000 compared
I
to
mean,
430 to 440 in Europe.
no wonder we have U.S. has the highest rates of depression, autism,
Yeah.
ADHD. So yeah, kind of
Yeah.
correlates.
Yeah, chronic illnesses, everything, you name it.
Yep.
The U.S. probably has it, unfortunately, and that is just again. And then there's people who said that they normally have a gluten allergy in the United States. They
Yep.
go over to Europe and they don't have a gluten allergy
Yeah.
anymore because of what is in their food and how it is made. Yeah, it's unreal. They also had released something that we have a high rate of cancers among other things, autoimmune diseases, all these different types of horrible things to our body. And then they compare it to like vegetable oils and olive oil, which pretty olive oil is not that
Olive oil
great
is
either.
no,
Even
yeah.
pure olive oil is not that great. But lard and butter, where they try to convince us is so horrible
Convince
for
us.
us, is actually the
It's
best
actually,
stuff
yeah.
that you can have compared to this other crap, especially vegetable oil. It's been linked to more and more cancers and chronic
Yep.
illnesses. It's yeah, there's like an entire scale, and I think vegetable oil, I want to say it's vegetable oil, but it's one of those terrible
Yeah.
oils, or
Canola
the
oil
number
too.
one. Yeah, canola oil. I think that might be the one actually.
There's a lot out there that
Even
aren't
peanut
good.
oil and stuff. Yes, 100%. So it really makes you wonder. And the other thing, which I knew about this for probably 10 plus years now, but it's
Hmm.
now starting to come to the headlines, is that they have two different recipes. They keep one here in the United States that's loaded up with
Yep.
crap and everything, and then they ship another out to Europe and the rest of the world that's actually a healthier version, or there's less crap in it. It makes me very frustrated and angry that we have this occurring in our society. But yeah, any thoughts on what I just went over, or anything to add?
Pretty much in agreement with what you said. I mean, I think it's crazy that we got 10,000 additives in our food that
I
definitely
know.
aren't healthy. I traveled, was in the Philippines for a while and like lost weight there. Food was great, healthy.
Yeah.
There's no additives in a lot of the food unless, you get out of the cities and the provinces. People don't get sick as much. It's just remarkable. And like everyone's always getting sick over here. And, mental health, food industry, medical industry, they don't like, cures. They like chronic illnesses because they can make money off it. So,
Yeah.
because if you got a cure, you can't make money off it. Or natural substances, like they patent all these drugs and now they can make money off of. And it's really doing a disservice to the American people. Socratic oath was to help people at all costs.
Hmm.
Medicine has been taken way too far in the other direction.
Yeah, 100%. And then you look at where we were pretty much cavemen and cave women potentially, right? And
Yep.
we did not eat every single day. We'd have like a meal every maybe like 3 days. We'd have a big meal essentially, and it was pretty much majority of it was all meats. And that's
Yep.
the very thing that they're telling you not to eat as much anymore. Oh, don't eat red meat. No, no, that's bad for you. It just makes you wonder, because I've seen this yet and yet again, and they always flip it. At first, in like the 70s and 80s, even the 90s, they were saying that salt is the big reason for inflammation and heart disease and all this. Well, now it's transitioning over to sugar. Same thing with eggs. They said, oh, well, eggs, the yolk, that's actually really bad for you. High
Yolk. Yeah.
cholesterol, it's terrible. And now they're actually saying, hey, the yolk actually has quite a few benefits. And it's like they're switching their tune. So it's hard to make sense of what's really happening. But
Yep.
it almost feels like nowadays what they tell you to do, you probably should not do. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah,
I
it's
agree. If
unreal.
if with most situations today, I basically if you just follow the money, you get your answer.
Yeah.
I
There
if
you
you
go.
and I follow people who have who aren't bought out, who have the least to benefit from what they say and view, and usually get a lot of holistic truth from those types of individuals who aren't so mixed up in corporate culture or competing interests with your health. I think that's important.
Right, 100%. Yeah, I mean, again, this will all be interesting, and I do hope that RFK continues his crusade, if you will,
Yep.
on the food companies and big pharma. But he's got a lot to
He's like
work to
the
do, and unfortunately,
Teddy Roosevelt, the 21st century.
yeah, yeah, I love it. The Teddy Roosevelt, that's a good one.
Yep.
I do want to switch topics here a little bit, and we touched on it a little earlier, but vaccines.
Hmm.
Vaccines, that is another one. And I mean, the signs, especially what's coming out about COVID and how they basically poisoned us in a way.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd love to give you the first crack on what you think about the vaccines, and have the vaccine mandates, or really just the vaccines in general, gone too far.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it went way too far. I'm microchip free, so no, I'm just
Oh,
joking.
yeah.
I didn't take the vaccine. I I think the Amish, I don't think they get many vaccines, and they live to like 90s, no cancer. Like,
Mhm.
I think it's very important to start looking at these populations that aren't vaccinated,
Yeah.
and realizing that, Pfizer, got these vaccines for free, but the taxpayers paid the bill. I mean, it all
Right.
benefited the corporations. The whole thing was just planned. You had essential workers and non-essential. It was just a crazy time. I think it was
Yeah.
taken way too far. Like, people lost their jobs if they didn't take the vaccine.
Hmm.
That's just like mind blowing to me. Like,
Yeah.
they'd rather have force you to take the vaccine and then put food on the table for your family. Um,
Yeah.
that's way too much corporate leverage and power in America by 100. That's not a good
Yeah.
thing. That's like fascism kind of in a way. Like,
Hmm.
corporate
It
power
is.
dominates over the individual.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely dangerous territory.
Yeah, I mean it's unreal, and I unfortunately had to get the vaccine as a member of
Yeah,
the military.
sure.
And if we refused to take it, they would kick us out or say, you can't. And
Yep.
yeah, unreal. Yeah, I unfortunately had the pleasure of taking that. But I see a lot of these other individuals, and especially if you really look at it, uh, obviously there's always tragedies of younger individuals dying because of X, Y, and Z. But
Hmm.
lately, I'd say since the vaccine came out, there has been such a
Yep.
huge uptick of people, especially with cardiac issues, that have collapsed, nearly died, or have died. If you look at LeBron James' son, Bronny James,
Hmm.
he's a professional basketball player, prime shape. Obviously eats very well, probably has some of the best nutritionists on the planet, and yet he collapsed on the
Hmm.
floor because of cardiac arrest. And you cannot tell me that that's not somehow linked to it. Someone like that caliber who's in tip top health does not just collapse on the floor without some sort of outside influence. And I
Yep.
really do believe that that vaccine was an outside influence. And we see a lot of these younger individuals having heart issues, having cancer, all these
Yep.
different things coming from it. Um, yeah, and on that note too, because of Bill Gates, have you?
Hmm.
I don't know if you've seen this. This one has kind of flown under the radar, and it almost makes me question if they released the Epstein files on purpose because of this one. But Bill Gates was experimenting by spraying mRNA on plants. I don't know if you had seen that or
Yep.
not.
I have. Yep.
Yeah. Why do you think he would do that? What do you think the purpose would be? Honestly, I'm curious.
Yeah, I know in a lot of files they're trying to control and eliminate poor people, or referred to as goyim. A lot of just really nasty
Yeah.
things. They don't
Yeah.
like. It's not really sometimes I don't even see it as left versus right, but us versus corporations and billionaires
Yeah.
essentially. The amount of power, leverage, research, and resources they have, they absolutely can and will use it against you. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I think people have to wake up and understand that. And the files were just a telltale sign of what they really have power and control over.
Yeah.
There's definitely technology we have no clue about that they have
Right.
access to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was reading about that. Very concerning, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is unbelievable how probably in 80 years, how much corporations have leveraged, how much lawyers they have, manpower to take down
Yeah.
anyone who gets in the way and thinking they're
Yeah.
happy just getting away with it. So,
Right. 100%. It's unreal, and it just feels like it gets worse and worse every day at sometimes. So
yep.
I'm thankful to be helping lead an organization that's going to do much better and bring light to a lot of these issues. So just for the record, by the way, none of us within the Martin Media team are suicidal. I'm just putting that out there in
Yep.
the air.
Same here.
You have to do that, but yeah. You know what? Let's see. We have a few minutes left here because I want to keep this between 9 to 9:15. So I do want to hear your thoughts on probably the second biggest news of the day, and that is the Epstein files. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I hear so many
Hmm.
different stories. Obviously, the files are horrific, especially this latest drop, January 30th, I believe. What are your whole thoughts, your stance? Yeah, what do you think all comes out of this?
After reading it, looking through the pages, I couldn't stomach my food for a week. My heart goes out to if these are all corroborated true stories of the victims, truly. And if our government's involved in trafficking, I don't care if you're on the left or right. Public trials, no, not behind closed doors. Everyone goes to testify under oath. I don't even like the pleading the fifth or playing these lawyer games. This is pretty serious. Our system benefits those in power for a reason. I think it's a very dangerous game. And it's funny, the files were released, and now Iran's like the next big thing in the news. It just seems like too much of a distraction. Nothing's being done here about it. Do appreciate Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna trying to get the left and right to really bring to light. If there's nothing to hide, go testify in front of anyone and say so. Because everyone who is listed, these are legit emails between powerful people. I understand blackmail is a thing, so if that was a thing, go to the Congress floor and testify. You know, plain and simple. No games, no I wasn't there, I had nothing to do with them. Go under oath, put your hand in the Bible, and, you know, be honest and truthful to the American public, because they deserve the truth and transparency fully. Full stop. No excuses.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 100%. I echo your same thoughts and feelings on that. There needs to be a lot more transparency on this. I feel like we're getting transparency, but we're not all the way there yet. And everyone should that should have their day in court and should plead their case and explain to them why or why not they're implicated in those files, and move on from there. One thing I will say, because again, I have a lot of colleagues on both sides who, as soon as they had seen that Trump's name was listed, instantly, oh my goodness, you had it on both sides just attacking him. And then you read a little more, and it said, well, you know, the claims they're proven that there's not enough credible evidence. There's not enough evidence. They believed it was more pre-election smears, because a lot of it came during the 2020 election cycle. My thoughts on that, I'm not going to put you on the hot seat here, because I know you try to be as impartial as possible, but here are my honest thoughts on it. You know, obviously, if it is true, if somehow they prove it's true, I hope he goes and rots away in prison. But what I see, I don't think that he is honestly guilty. And why do I say that? Well, two different reasons. First of all, it's the same evidence that show it's just not credible. There's no truth to it. And a lot of times what I like to do is when I debate these individuals, I always ask, well, do you think Joe Biden is a clone? Well, no, I don't believe that. That's crazy. Well, that was deemed the same credible evidence as was the whole Trump sex scandal as well. So you tell me, you can't really cherry pick which one you want to believe. I mean, you can do that, but again, it doesn't really hold any weight in my opinion. So if you're going to believe one thing, you have to believe the other. But again, I'm not going to put you on the hot seat, but that is
I'll say a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think, as long as they testify, you know, they promised to release the files. There's 3 million who still haven't been they're still not being shown to the public, and it's like, well, that's pretty shady, you know. And you know, the bill does require all files to be released, and I think the sooner we get this in court, and you know, you're not guilty until proven innocent. I think, because I think there's 12,000 victims now and counting. I think it's pretty serious. And I do think, you know, I think the Russian mafia, you know, I think there's a lot of intelligence agencies behind this. Blackmail is very powerful. Once you get into politics, everyone knows the same donors. You go to the same elite universities, and there's a lot of secret clubs and societies in these universities. Pilgrim Society. I gotta watch what I say. It's like, but it's serious stuff. I think it's just hidden from the public. You're not supposed to be aware of these agencies, how they operate, and how much leverage they have, because that kind of delegitimizes the American dream. And if it's all just a show for power and gain, the system stops working. People stop believing in it. And if you can't have that, so especially for the 1% who want to benefit from that.
Right, 100%. And Gabe,
I meant innocent until I got that around. My apologies. Thanks, Gabe. Innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, I was going to help you with that, because that is something that I am a big proponent in. I don't care if you're Obama, Bill Clinton, President Trump, Marco Rubio. It does not matter. It is innocent until proven guilty, and a lot of times people have it backwards now: guilty until proven innocent. And half the time,
I'm not
even
for
if they are innocent, they don't believe in it regardless. So yeah, I just
thanks for the correction. Yeah, I totally didn't mean that.
Yes, 100%. Yes, innocence until proven guilty. So I think that's very 100% important to maintain, and I'm glad that you had brought that up, but
Yep.
yeah, I mean, wow, where do you even start with those Epstein files? I mean, it's unreal. And then
Yeah.
you look at the old footage, especially with like the whole pizza, right? And you see like
Yep.
Ellen DeGeneres at an award
And her
ceremony who wants
show.
to
Yeah.
buy pizza on her show, talking about it's just very weird. And it's like, it just makes you wonder. I'm not saying it's a big whole conspiracy, but it definitely makes you question things. Jim Carrey with the Illuminati. Now
Yep.
this week he looks completely different. It really
It's
does
not
look like a clone or
yeah.
an actor, but I
Different
don't.
eyes too. It just his
Yes,
expression is just. It's like this is just weird. It's because
right.
I've watched Jim Carrey for a while and
Oh yeah,
something's
love Jim
off.
Carrey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. He's the
yeah,
goat.
he
So
is. He's
yeah,
he's
weird
one.
things.
Yeah, again, very very weird. He talks all this stuff about the Illuminati and how they're out to get you, a whole bunch of conspiracy stuff, which isn't really a conspiracy anymore. And then
I do
suddenly,
believe. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Me Too is a prime
What
example
me
of
too.
guilty until proven innocent. Yeah, 100%. Me Too is a scam. Me Too is
Yeah.
a scam organization. But yeah, let's see. Why? I'll let you have the last crack at any topic that you might want
Okay.
to air out today on today's episode. But yeah, go ahead and take it away and talk about something that we haven't gotten the chance to talk to about tonight.
Yeah, that's a good question. Ooh, where should I start?
If anything, we've covered a lot. We've done a great
Yeah,
job.
thank you. Um, Probably let's start with the probably like midterms. Let's talk about that
Okay.
and
Yeah.
how there's a
Yeah.
big
That's a great
divide
one.
between young Gen Z men and the older generations. I
Yeah.
personally don't see the midterms going well for Republicans.
No.
I mean I'm very honest when I see it's like okay I try to
Yeah.
accept reality for what it is. I think it's important. We're just all divided for sure. It's kind of crazy.
You're right.
So
100%. Yeah, I would. I mean, the midterms, I think it will not bode well for Republicans. I'd seen a new poll that they were down 8 points a few weeks ago in their latest poll, and now they're dead even with Democrats. I
that
don't
even
really believe
yeah
in that. Um, I think that the Republicans are probably going to get shellacked. I think they may lose one seat in the Senate. I think they'll still
sure
retain the majority, 52 to 48. But in the House, I could project them losing potentially. I'm gonna say 10 to 20 seats. I think that's a very fair amount. If you look at the party in power, typically they always lose
they do.
the midterm, and usually it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But again, it'll be interesting. I think regardless of the outcome, there it's just gonna, even if the Republicans do a little bit better than anticipated, they're still gonna say, well, this is against Trump's mandate. This is proof they hate him midterms. When in reality, this is just a
How
constant
it's
cycle of what always
very
happens, and
constant.
it's politics.
It is.
But yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm cautiously optimistic, maybe. We'll see. I do want to get
Yep.
your thoughts though on the Spirit. Nick Fuentes, which I've talked about many times on this show, has said that he thinks that everyone should vote for Democrats and not support the Republican Party at all. Yet he's labeled as an extreme right wing analyst, if you could call him that.
Yep.
I don't really know what to believe with him. I don't think that's smart at all, and I think he's
Yep.
also said he would support Gavin Newsom. So how can this individual speak for the entire right or for the far right individuals? I'd love to hear if you have any insights on that or what your thoughts on him saying that the Republicans should not take any power at all.
Yeah, it's a very interesting take. I think he's airing a lot of grievances for his audience. Of course, he has a very niche, specific audience.
Yeah,
I think maybe he's trying to appeal to it's not left versus right. I think voting for the left would be a bit too far. 'Cause I believe the Republicans hold most of our values as Christians. He says he's a Catholic, but it's kind of hard to support someone who openly supports abortion at the same time. Very contradicting. I myself, I don't know if I'll vote again. I might not. I think more power is left to the individual. Not like even the majority of the population doesn't vote. Sometimes I feel like the system is designed like that. Each side has their own kryptonite, and it's like, well, how can I support one side that does this and that side that does that?
right.
It's very conflicting as a Christian
Yeah.
to see both sides have very
Hmm.
narcissistic tendencies for power and
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
And a lot of young men feel the same way. We just want to base, food on the table, raise a family, no corruption in government. I think some people just want to see a new system, like not a new system, but I think push has been come to shove with the people in power. And I think a lot of the citizens are just kind of bowing out and just want to. It's kind of like waking up from a bad dream. I think people want, people put their values first at the end of the day. Truly, from their heart, you can tell when someone, cares for the citizens they represent. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
No matter which side you're on.
Right.
I think it's important for both sides to start working together too and getting along more. And finding common ground, because it's always a deadlock in Congress, and it's just drama all the time. And people are like, we're living in the greatest country and we got both sides just constantly fighting, and I think people are just starting to question why they didn't vote. Their dollar's not going as far, and people just feel less represented overall. So I think a lot of people feel the similar way.
100%.
It's iffy, but I got a lot of different. It's not like one view I have on it. It's more of a multifaceted view, balanced, I guess, per se. But it's an interesting take by him. I don't think it'll go over well if all Christians start voting for the left. So.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But again, we'll be interested. We still have about 9-ish months here until 8 months really until election night. So this will be very interesting, and it'll be interesting to see. In 8 months is like 8 years in politics. I mean, the news cycle just refreshes so quick. So yeah, it'll very much be interesting really to see how it all plays out. Let's see here. We got a couple questions. All right, folks. We are in our final 5 to 10 minutes here, so this is the time to go ahead and ask all your questions. I see we have a few here that we'll go ahead and answer, but please send all your questions in. This is my favorite time. I get to interact one-on-one with you. Wyatt's going to join me in here, so let's make this the best 10 minutes in Martin Memo history. But let's
do it.
Should we get Dictator Trump completely reboot the system? Why do you want to take first stab on that, or do you want me to go ahead and take this?
Yeah, I know. Let you go.
Yeah, I figured as much. Honestly, no, I don't want to see that in reality. As much as I really do like Trump and a lot of his policies, obviously some things are questionable. But I don't think that the dictator. This is not a country that's a dictatorship. It wasn't founded on that. Our founders, which I'm watching a great founder series right now on Fox Nation, but the way that our founders had set up this system is perfectly designed. It's actually in the Bible how they talk about the judge, the judicial system, the law, the legislative system, and then lastly the executive branch, the king, in their words. But I think it is perfectly designed. We should not, as tempting as it may be to just do a grand reset, that is not the right answer. But what we can do is move with our feet to the polls and hire the best people. And another thing, one of my big things that I would do if I had the power to do it, get rid of lobbyists. No more lobbyists at all. No more lobbyists. Get them out of Washington. Yep. No more super PACs buying politicians. No more AIPAC. No more big pharma. None of that. No more funding our politicians. I think that would be one way that we could truly make sure that we don't have corrupt politicians and we could really fix the system. So that would be something I'm 100% for. I'm sick of lobbyists owning our politicians and giving them a few extra bucks so that they can say yes or no on an issue. I'm not for that. And that is something that I would 100% do if I were president or able to serve in some sort of capacity. They are starting to ban stock trading. That's huge. That is great. Ban that as well. No more stock trading as well for all of these politicians. I'm 100% for that. But one of the big things that we can do to prevent or at least stall some corruption is stop having politicians be bought out. Wyatt, care to add off that or take away anything?
Totally agree. I mean, each dollar is kind of like a vote in and of itself. If you're voting with dollars, $1 million, it's like 1 million people because each dollar has leverage. It has power and influence. If our politicians keep being bought out, there's more incentives to serve other people's interests than the citizens themselves. So I totally agree with you there. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for agreeing.
Yep.
Sorry for a sharp question. No, you're good. We love that. We love those questions here. What is one piece of legislation that you feel needs to be passed? Well, I just had said mine, ban lobbyists, ban super PACs. I think that would be great. And that's coming from someone who supported Trump, where he got majority of his money, or at least a large chunk of his money, from I think X or Elon Musk. We'll just say that. I think he
Yep.
got about $150 million from the super PAC that Elon Musk had owned. So again, yeah, and you could argue that he probably would not have won if it wasn't for Elon Musk's help.
Yep.
But again, that would be something that if I had the power to, if I could pass that, I would pass that within a heartbeat. Why?
Same here.
Well, yeah, that legislate. Look at that. We're in agreement.
Also,
Good.
I would
Yeah,
pass
yeah.
no banks foreign interest buying property and real estate.
That's a good one.
So I think that's a big issue. Trump said he doesn't want the housing market to go down, but most people pay mortgages, and he knows that, and most of the banks own most of our mortgages. So it's just giving more leverage to banks and citizens who want to raise a family. It's like you gotta, if you can't afford to buy a home, that's a huge issue for the economy overall. So I would ban them from buying single family units. They have so much money, trillions, so they're not going to be hurting. They're going to be just fine. They own most of the homes anyways.
Yeah, 100%. All right, we got a couple more questions here. We're going to probably end it here after these three just because of the time here, unless you got any to submit in the next 30 seconds. But that's once the 30-second mark hits, we are finished with questions here. So we'll go with the next one here. Do either of you guys participate in your local government? Wyatt, I'll let you have first take on that.
No, I don't, and I should be more involved. Definitely doing a lot of exploring behind the scenes with different orgs and stuff, but I would like to be more involved in the future, city council, local government. I like the grassroots energy that a lot of people bring.
Yeah.
So I think it's undervalued, but people should put more focus on it, including myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say that local governments and politics is a lot more fun than nationwide. I love a good presidential race, but something about just there in the town and the energy, feeling it all around, from mayors to councilmen and women, to people at the school board, all those matter. Am I involved? Mildly. I won't say that I'm fully involved. My role in the military kind of hinders me from doing a lot of politics in general. This is probably questionable at times, but yeah, I would like to be more involved, and one day I will be. Not as involved as I like, but I do contribute as much as possible. Next question here. Do you think the idiot left will finally pass voter ID and Homeland Security? One can hope. The SAVE Act is a wonderful piece of legislation that does need to get passed. My biggest fear, though, is regardless of that legislation, states like California, Minnesota, are they really going to listen, or are they just going to have poll workers that, oh, yeah, they totally showed me their ID? So I guess
True.
that's the worry. But, I think regardless, they'll still figure out a way to cheat. But hopefully the SAVE Act can hinder that a little bit. So I do hope they will pass it. I think they will get there. But, again, we will see. Thoughts on
True.
that, Wyatt?
Yeah, I mean, it would be great for them to pass. I think it's important to have election integrity, as long as the ID isn't used for any surveillance or other nefarious reasons. More power to the voter, absolutely. So, with the right intentions, and it's followed, yeah, I definitely hope it gets passed along.
Yeah, there you go. Then I personally believe that people need to focus on the local rather than the federal all the time. Agreed. A lot of people focus on the top when they really should be focusing on what's local, because a lot of times the local policies are going to affect you more than the big federal ones in the grand scheme of things. It's all the little things and all the little nuances that you probably don't even really pay attention to because you're worried about abortion at the federal level or whatever issue may be there. So yeah, that's great, Gabe. I'm glad you brought that up. Mortgage sucks. Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't recommend taking out one. Just stay with your parents and save. It's also a lot more corrupt from my experience. I'm sure it is.
Very.
But yeah, I guess with that being said, we don't have any more questions. So Wyatt, do you have any final remarks or anything to tell the good of the group?
Yeah, just everyone keep up the good fight. Appreciate you all tuning on, and thanks to Zach and his audience. I super appreciate. Honored and humbled to always hop on and answer your questions. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Wyatt, it is always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for joining. I'm glad we got to do this. I can't believe this is our second time. Feels like just yesterday, but at the same time, it also feels like a year ago since the last time we were able to do this. So, as always, brother, it's a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, same here. Thanks, Zach.
Absolutely. Well, folks, that is all we have in store for today. Thank you for joining another marvelous Martin Memo Monday. You like that? I just threw that in there.
That was
But
great.
be sure to, I appreciate it. Be sure to tune in. Actually, I'm going to do a little episode tomorrow. I'm going to talk about Iran and my thoughts on that. So be sure to tune in for that. That's going to be here on YouTube probably around the same time, 5, 6 p.m. ET. Wednesday, I have another wonderful guest that I interviewed, a TPUSA president. So be sure to stay tuned for that one. And then on Friday, I have 2 different topics, which I'll take your opinions on, which one I should do. If I should do another topic on the Epstein files, or if I should talk more about a different topic. But with all that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. It has been another great Monday. God bless you all. And in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. This has been the Martin Memo. God bless everyone and stay safe.